everyone, welcome to another episode of Garden to Table with Rose. It is a very hot and sunny and humid Saturday morning, and I am getting ready to plant the bulk of my vegetable plants. So I thought what I would do is try a time-lapse video, plant, kind of speed it up just to show the whole process. I have all of these trays here to plant. These are all peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, melons. There's probably some flowers in there too. I have all of these trays to plant. I have my handy dandy drill auger to make my holes, so that should make it go a lot quicker. I have my son who is graciously helping me today. Not very graciously, but he's helping. And so we're also cutting some wood stakes to try to make support for the tomatoes. They're not going to need it right now because they're pretty small, but my goal is to do a weave, kind of basket weave type support with string and stakes every few feet down the row. Now luckily I covered the 2 rows that I'm using for all of these crops with black wheat barrier. So that should have killed off any weeds that might have tried to grow under there. So it's all staked down. It's been there for at least a month. So all I'm going to do is drill holes where I want the plants to go, plant them. I already amended the soil and all that at the beginning of spring. Water everything in. My drip irrigation is already set up. So that should go hopefully pretty quickly and pretty easily as well. So I think that's all there is to it. I'm also planting corn and green beans because it is time for those as well. So with those, I plant directly from seed, and with the beans, you soak your seeds 24 hours. So those are soaked in water 24 hours. The corn is going directly into the holes in the ground. I'm only doing 1 row of corn. I know corn takes up a lot of space, but I got some very unique varieties, and when I do the next garden tour, I will talk to you about the different varieties. But very unique varieties I've never seen before. I've never grown corn before, so I thought it would be fun to try it. So that is the plan for the big field here. So let's try to get this done today. It's 1 week after our last frost date, so it's close to the end of May. It's supposed to be 87 degrees today, I believe. We went from like really cool weather, very cool nights, to just hot. There was like really no in between. So, but I gotta get this done, and I want it done this weekend to make sure I have a long enough growing season for these crops that take 3 or so months. All right. We'll see you around. This is actually day 3 of the planting project, and everything is finished in terms of the big field. So to end this video, I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough and show you what we accomplished. We couldn't really work all day this weekend. Even today, each day it's been close to 90 degrees here, really hot. And it went from, like 50s, 60s during the day to 87, like overnight. So, but we got everything planted in the big field now. The only thing I have to do is stake the tomatoes, which I think I'm going to do some kind of basket weave or weave system. I think I'm going to hammer in some wood stakes every few feet and then use twine to wrap around it and kind of hold the tomato plants up. But they're very small now, so there's no rush for that. I'll probably get out this weekend and put those stakes in, and then I won't be able to tie anything up until it grows tall enough to tie it up. But the drip irrigation is on. It's working. It's very sensitive. The ends of the rows like to blow out sometimes. So every time I turn it on, I really have to check it and make sure all the pieces are operational, and then I just let it go. So I don't know that I'll put it on an automatic timer. I think I'll just come out and start it every time because I really need to check it each time. But it's working. It's better than me trying to water it overhead with a sprinkler or something like that. So here we go. We're going to do a quick walkthrough. All right. So I don't know how many hours total was spent getting all of this planted, but I work full time, so I come out and plant when I can in the evenings, mostly on the weekends. But this first row over here with the black weed barrier is corn, and I think I threw in some sunflowers maybe in here, a couple of them, but basically it's corn. I think there's 4 different varieties, but let's see. So I have my little holes. Those are the only holes in the plastic is where the corn is planted, and then the drip irrigation goes all the way down this entire row. And don't ask me how long these rows are, because I keep forgetting. They're maybe 40 feet, I'm guessing, about 40 feet long. So this row right here is all peas, and I was really worried about the peas because it was so cold and they weren't doing anything, and then it got hot. But as you can see, they suddenly decided to flower. So it's really hot. I'm hoping I can get a good supply of peas before it gets too hot for them. And I don't know what happens when it gets too hot. Do they just die? Do they bolt? I don't know. But the flowers are there, and from what I've read, within a week of seeing the flowers, you should start having peas. So these are all snowbird peas, these bush type. I planted actual sunflowers. I planted them direct all down the side of this row as well, because I figure these are going to come out soon and I'll have more room. So I planted sunflowers along this right row, and then on the left row is mostly bush beans. So that by the time, and those were planted direct too, so by the time they start to sprout up, it'll be time probably to get rid of the peas. There's a trellis here, so I did plant a couple of climbing things here, cucumbers, that hopefully will climb up this trellis I have right here. So let's go down the pea aisle. Peas, there's a lot of peas. There's a lot of plants. Now these are sugar snap peas. This one is called sugar magnolia pea, and the other one is super sugar snap pea. So as you can see, they're just now reaching the string on my little pea towers. So I don't know how far those will get before it gets too hot for them. I'm not sure. But They are definitely growing, and there's some sweet pea flowers sprinkled in here as well. There's another trellis back here. So let's see, did I plant? I don't think I planted anything back here yet, other than some pansies, some little flowers. I'm surprised. I have not planted any climbing things here yet. I think my goal was to plant some kind of melon here, and I still have some seedlings that are not, I don't think, big enough yet to transplant. So I'm probably going to plant some kind of a melon, like a honeydew type melon, to go up this one. And these two covered rows, as I said, these are things I planted a while ago, and these are mostly leafy greens. Some of them died because I planted them too early. Then I came back out and just planted straight up seeds. But they have taken off, I'm telling you, since it got warm. And it helps to cover them up. I don't know if you can see those. But, oh, those are beautiful. None of the bugs have gotten to them because they're covered. Which this little row cover stuff is fantastic. And then to make these, I mean, I do everything kind of the cheapest way possible. So I bought the row cover fabric, but I got a good price for it online. And then I just got fence wiring. It comes in a coil, like in any of the home stores. It's just some kind of fence wire for like chain link fence. And then I got my wire cutters and just cut it into hoop shapes and stuck those hoops into the ground. Here's one, for example, right here. And I think I probably have some melons or squash on the other side of these trellises that are going to hopefully grow and climb up there. I don't think there's anything right here. That's probably why I didn't cover that up. But there's flowers also sprinkled throughout here, different herbs. Let's see, what's under here? There's another leafy green. There's a few tiny, tiny holes in it. But that might have happened before I covered it, because I didn't cover things until like last week or something. So, but I don't know. It's huge, whatever it is. All of these things are getting huge, so it's kind of time to harvest. Now I know this is kale. I know kale when I see it. Let me see if I can get this open. That's definitely some type of kale. Not sure what type, but it's pretty. So I got a lot of leafy greens. I like eating leafy greens. I need to eat more vegetables, less meat. And I can freeze a lot of them, and that seems to work out. So I'll probably end up blanching and freezing them. This is a huge, I'm not going to open this, but this is like a huge bunch of greens. This bunch right here is so large that it's actually pressing up against the fabric, so I'm going to have to uncover this soon. I mean, those leaves are huge. That might be collard greens or mustard greens, something like that. So back to the other two rows that we just planted this weekend. These are all tomatoes, squash, peppers, eggplants. And so what we did was, these rows are about 3 feet wide. We put 2 holes kind of side by side. I think they're about a foot apart from each other. And so we did that all the way down both of these rows and planted, planted all our little seedlings there. All the way in the back where those trellises are, there they are. In the back where those trellises are, those are most likely squash and melons, things that climb. So everything is planted in this field, and you can see the drip irrigation is on. I don't know if you can see the water. Let me try to zoom in here. But it's on. And it's giving a slow drip of water. So I've been coming out, especially now that it's so hot, and turning it on for really like an hour and a half each evening to make sure my seedlings get off to a good start. So that's done. Like I said, I'll come back and do some staking. I got some cages as well that I can use for the eggplants or for the squash or even for some of the tomatoes if I decide I want to use a cage. But that's all done. And I had so many tomato plants. So let me take you and show you what I did with the extras. I had so many because, you know, I'm following all of my books and advice of seasoned gardeners, and they all say plant 2 seeds per, you know, per pocket when you're making your seedlings because the germination rates, etc., etc. Well, I'm telling you, I had like 95% germination because pretty much every seed that I planted came up. And then I couldn't bring myself to destroy these seedlings because, you know, it adds up. I bought so many different varieties of everything that the seeds add up. I mean, I've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on just seeds. So I wasn't letting anything go to waste. So I took the extras and I ran out yesterday and got the stock tanks, you know, for livestock to feed animals from Tractor Supply. They were cheap. They were only like $35 a piece. I drilled a hole in the bottom and filled it with potting soil or raised bed mix. I actually bought a mix because I just needed to get these seedlings in the ground and I didn't feel like having to go get peat moss and all that stuff. And they didn't have any at Tractor Supply, any peat moss, so they only had pre-mixed bags. So basically, yeah, I just filled it up, added some composted manure, and I have crowded them. I mean, because I figured some of them might die off. So I just planted as many as I could into these bins. And even if they're crowded and I don't get as big of a yield, it's fine because I have so many. I have that, like I said, those 2 rows over in that field and all of these. And I really only need so many tomatoes. I mean, most of them I'll probably make juice, crush tomatoes and can them. Eat the cherry tomatoes. I grow a lot of different cherry tomatoes. But yeah, with the bigger ones, I tend to just pretty much can it. Either it's going to be tomato juice or crushed tomatoes in jars that I can then use to make sauces and chili and stuff like that. But I got 3 of these. So they got tomatillas in them as well. And all kinds of tomatoes, from Romas to, what else? I got some salsa tomatoes, a bunch of little cherry tomatoes, and then, like I said, a lot of tomatillas down at that end, purple and green ones. So that's what I did with the extras. I still have a few extras over there. It's another area that I'm working on. I have my last green stalk. Let's zoom in. That's my last green stalk planter, and sitting there in that little barrel is the last of my seedlings, other than the few melons that I'm growing for to go up those archways. But there's probably still a bunch of tomatoes in there. There's a bunch of flowers in there, and a lot of my medicinal herbs are in there. I decided to put them in the tower because they're just easier to identify and harvest if I kind of keep them all in the same area. And given that they're medicinal herbs, I really don't want to get them confused. So I'm going to put all those in that green stalk tower there and get that all planted up. And over here in the berry patch, I call it, I've added these cucumber. I have 2 cucumber trellises that I purchased a while ago, but I decided to put those over here and put some cucumbers and squash over here because the berry plants are still so small. I mean, I just got them and planted them, so there's plenty of room still here right now. So I figure over this summer I can grow some other things here, utilize the space, and then next year, of course, the berry plants should be, you know, pretty tall, so I won't be growing anything else on top of them, but right now that's what I'm doing. So my drip irrigation is set up here. I even ran it through my little bags. Oh, let's see if you can see that. Yeah, so I have a whole row here of grow bags with a bunch of stuff in there, as you saw in the garden tour. But I just basically ran the soaker hose through this whole row, just set them as close together as possible, draped that drip irrigation all the way down the whole row to the end, so that everything is now being watered over here. The only thing I have to water myself are these 3 bins of tomatoes. And then, of course, I have to water my fruit trees, but those only get watered once a week, so that's easy enough. I just take a 5-gallon bucket, fill it up, pour it in the hole, you know, around the base of the tree, and that's it. I do have to water my onion and Brussels sprout a little bit way over there. I use a sprinkler. Those onions are growing very slowly. Brussels sprouts grow slowly, so it's pretty low maintenance over there. And then I have to water my grapes and other viney berries that I put on these little grape arbor things that I built. I still don't know the official name for these. I call them grapevine holders, grape arbors. I don't know, grape post. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to water by hand. And then of course my little green stalks, which those only need to be watered, you know, once a week, maybe twice a week if it's really hot. My little planters on the deck, you know, those have to be watered obviously at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, because they're small, so they dry out pretty quickly. But that is it. I think I am still, like I said, growing a few melon seedlings, so within the next couple weeks I'll put those out. I have just a handful more of plants coming from Stark Bros that I actually forgot I ordered. This is how much stuff I ordered, I forgot. But I know that I got, I think, 2 more blueberry bushes, because I actually only have 5 blueberry bushes, and they're different varieties. So I think I have 2 blueberry bushes. There may be 1 more blackberry and maybe a raspberry. And then I needed to replace some of the grapes. A lot of the grapes I initially got from Willis Orchards, which is down south somewhere. I can't remember, Georgia, somewhere like that. I was not impressed or pleased with their products. Most of those bushes seem to have died, pretty much all of them. So I've had to replace them. So I've ordered replacements from Stark Bros, which I have not yet had any problem with Stark Brothers plants. And they do have a guarantee on their trees and stuff for a year. So even if I did, I could at least get a replacement. But I would not advise you to do business with Willis Orchards at all. That has been a big disappointment for me. And then the one other thing that I will show you, and I'm wrapping this up, I'm going in the house. It's it's after 7 and I had to work all day. So I'm ready to relax, take a shower and relax. But the other thing that I have to plant is here on the deck. I got these little, and they were inexpensive and adorable, so I said, why not try it? Citrus trees. Now, my plan here is to put these in pots so that I can take them, either put them in my shed or take them in the garage for the winter, obviously, because they're citrus. I have 2 different kinds of lemons. There's a Meyer lemon, there's a variegated lemon, which is striped. There's a lime tree here. And then one other that I just found at Tractor Supply that I never heard of. It's called a Calamandan orange. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. Calamandan orange. So apparently it creates really small, tart little oranges that you can use like you would a lemon or a lime, because it's pretty tart. So like an orange, I guess an orangeade you can make. So I'm gonna put those. I bought these pots that were really cheap from Walmart, which I hardly ever go to, but I found myself at Walmart. That's like the first time I've been to Walmart in probably a year and a half. And they had these black pots. They're probably about 12 inches, I guess, at the top, 12 inches across. But they were only like $4 or $5 a piece. So I got 4 of those for those citrus plants, and I'm going to try my hand at those as well. So that is what's been going on the last few days. Finally, I am winding down on the planting, and then it's just weeding and watering and fertilizing from that point on. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Garden Stable with Rose. If you haven't, please like this video and subscribe, because that helps my videos move up in the search engine so that they, kind of pop up more often for people to view. And the more people that view them, the more I am able to continue to make videos, and hopefully they're helpful or at least entertaining to some of you. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.